grazie per l'opportunità di stare qui in Milano e presentare il nostro progetto Havre 69. Allora, in English, right? Uh, I wanted to start doing kind of like a context of Mexico City because I think Mexico City is a very important, for me it's one of the most interesting places to work in architecture, and it's because of the different elements. First, this valley was a lake. 700 years ago, when the Aztecs placed their empire here, it was a big lake with a little island. And very similar to Venice, it had channels, and it went through all the 19th century as this condition. Now it's a big, dried condition, endless. It sometimes has these borders. It has some lakes. This is where the new airport, the Norman Foster thing goes in the future. And as you can see, it has been a city that has been developing without any rules, kind of like free form or organic. There's some infrastructure, endless city, natural conditions of the old lake, the Aztec lake, and of course the colonial infrastructure. So I like these pictures because it shows how the public space is used, how it goes out of the streets. Probably the built solid conditions are empty, and the streets are the ones that are part of this new kind of use of commerce. It's a city that reflects itself from below up, and I'll explain that with this picture. Under these buildings is the old Aztec city that is buried here, and then the Spanish came and put a new city that is a colonial city. That's the second phase of this city. And then there's the modern city above it, and now it's the contemporary city building above that. So it's a city that destroys, it auto-destroys due to two elements. One is people that destroy buildings to build new buildings, and the second one is earthquakes and water. So we have very difficult conditions to build. Water is 1 meter below grade in this part of the city, and earthquakes every 40 to 60 years destroy part of the city. It's like an Aztec kind of like story. Aztecs used to build layers on top of the pyramids every 52 years as a ritual for the gods. So I guess the city has that kind of enigma, that it also destroys itself with the earthquakes every 40 to 60 years. So it's an endless city. And then these are some of our projects that I'm going to pass quickly. TV studios, some artist galleries, housing, firefighting, building. It's part of the infrastructure, housing, building in Mexico City. And this is the this phrase that we all know that comes from Sullivan and then Mies van der Rohe. And this is very awkward for us because coming from Mexico, that is a place where 50% of the people are under the poverty line. That's about 50 to 60 million people. We cannot use this. We cannot tell people that less is more. That will be arrogant and misleading. So we change it to more with less. Do more with less money, do more with less elements. The other one seems like a kind of like a Buddhist phrase. So then there's this picture that I really like from Veracruz, that's a town in Mexico, to the Gulf of Mexico. And this used to be a church, and now it has changed to a parking lot. So I guess that idea of typology, it doesn't exist anymore, right? A church doesn't have to be a church, it can be a parking lot. A house doesn't have to be a house, it could be a drug dealer place to hide guns, right? So this is the first competition we won that started us turning our idea that architects should not build any more square meters. They should reset cities, re-understand the empty square meters of the city and use that in our favor. This is something that in Europe you're very used to, but in Mexico we're not. So this is the old penitentiary from the 19th century, a panoptical structure. made before the revolution. And we won this competition to transform this into a cultural space. All the documents there, it's the most important documents in the whole continent, in whole America, because this was the capital of the New Spain, and that's where all the documents came from Europe to this area. So then it became this penitentiary, and then this is our project that we won first place. And then we understand that using all the square meters possible, putting a little money, you can actually build great things and recycle this from a penitentiary to archives and now to a cultural place. That's the idea that's going to be happening. Public park underneath, the control space for the museum above it, and that's the way it's going to look soon. And then this is another project that we're changing. This is our client's structure that used to work for cars accessories, and we're building a market in that structure without tearing the structure down. This is the clean out structure, and that's the new market. So it's just recycling this old structure. All of these projects are in the same neighborhood as the project that I'm showing that is part of this Archmarathon. So it's important as a context. Then there's this other lame phrase from architecture that has to do with form follows function, and everybody argues about this. And for us, it's about strategy. Everything in architecture is about strategy, especially in the 21st century. It's about sustainable. That's a horrible word because everybody says it now and then. But we think sustainability in Latin America has to be about social economy and social conditions, not about materials, not about high tech. So this is Reform Avenue, that green avenue. That's the most expensive square meter in the whole country. And they are building housing there that goes from $5,000 to $7,000 a square meter. So only very few people can actually buy apartments there. We're talking about CEOs of big banks. And so what our thought is, what happens with the back part of that? What happens with all the people that work in these high rises and have to commute 3 to 4 hours a day to get to their job? Is there any possibility to do housing that has lower, for lower income in the back areas and have a sustainable kind of condition of getting everybody together in the same area, from the CEO of the big bank to the one that cleans the toilet of that CEO. So this is the context of that neighborhood. It's a really turned down neighborhood. It almost was destroyed in '85 earthquake. Almost half of the spaces were empty lots. And some of the 19th century houses still remain. Some modern architecture also, different layers. Some French style things that were built in those times. Great modern architecture. Mario Pani's building, that's a beautiful building for housing. So this is the context. Unifamily are millionaire houses from the 19th century, and then rich people went out. There was a gentrification of rich people going out of this neighborhood, outside to the suburbs, and now the gentrification is coming back to it as a hipster, new kind of like hippie condition mix. So this is the building we got when it was on sale. And we love this building because it was one of the first buildings in the 19th century that actually had a lot of families living, middle class. It was not low class, vecindad, that is one of these buildings called from a lot of different apartments. And it was not one family, single house, rich house. It was a middle class condition for 4 families. So we saw this building, we liked it. Our clients are the best developers in the world because they do not turn down anything. They recycle. Actually, that's their niche, and they want to pursue that, buying old buildings and use them for better architecture. That's the way we start to control the structure, to see what's going on inside, restructuring, understanding the elements. This is a section we did in the back of the building so that you can see there all the sections of the spaces. We kept this like like it is. That's the way you see the building right now finished, because we wanted to see all the layers of history, all the different paintings in that kid's room, in that guy's room there, in that hallway. And what you see here is in black, the thick walls are the original structure. So you see the apartments, and in the front, on the right, you see the commercial areas, and then the new tower on the back. That was a big patio. That's where we did the cut of the building, and we put a new building there. That's the second floor. So you see the 3 apartments on the middle. It's kitchen, a little living room, and then a room upstairs with a bathroom. That's about it. So, in section, everything that is in black is the old house. Everything that is thinner, it's the new intervention. So we're going to the maximum density that the city allows. That's important for the client to get the most square meters done. That's the section, white, the original 19th century house, and then the structure, the building. Well, you can see here, there's 4 apartments, but the 4 apartments, we went to the maximum 3.6 meter height, and then if you have, yes, on this one, you can add 2 of those and divide it into 3, so then you have smaller spaces for the rooms. I think that was a way to do it, and the code allows. So this is the way it's working. The light front part is the commercial, then the housing is the pink, and then the new tower on the back. And this is part of the construction. We build in Mexico with around 300 to 400 euros square meter. That's our maximum budget. And this is the way we do it. So that's why I'm saying we cannot use very sophisticated materials, but we can actually think about strategies of the city, not building anymore outside, building here, refurbishing or redoing these empty square meters in the city that we have plenty. This is the look of the new tower to that section. This is going to be the view of the apartments, of like the ruin or the old thing. This is the view to the street. This is the reconstruction site. And then this is the apartment finish. Some of these apartments finished like this. That's the new facade. It's almost the same as it was. And this is the way you enter the building, through an open public space that it's always open except at night that you close that door. And this is the housing entrance. And you go through this staircase. That's the new structure that comes alongside to the old building. You see the new staircase, the public space coming in, and then the old building there. And this is the parking. We had a big discussion with the authorities about this, because the law needs parking, and we're against parking in this part of the city. So our argument between two different kind of governmental agencies. One is the Bossart agency, that they don't want to turn down the building, and the other one is the building, the city building department that wanted us to do. So it was a controversy between tearing down the building and doing a parking lot, or not having a parking lot and keeping the building. And we won to keep the building and have this parking lot as bicycle, and it's working perfectly. And I think that's where Mexico City is heading in the next 15 to 10 years. This is the pre-existing walls with the new handrails, pre-existing structure to the new tower, the views, some of the views from above. And then you can see here the old, the new, and the interior of the apartments. This is the coffee place below there that is it's working perfectly, all the commercial. And what happens now, I'm just going to say this as a ending story. It was so successful, this, as a kind of like a new part of town, and it developed a lot of different things around it. Places start changing around it, and our clients bought the house next door. So what we're doing is we're trying to do a passage here, commercial passage, public, and having a big density here above this. And that's the new project. So this is the first one, the one that is part of this festival. And then this is the new building that we're doing now. This is a photograph from last week. And what we're trying to do is that public space goes in and starts developing. All the black buildings are the ones owned by our client that are all buildings refurbished. So this is the new next door building. We're doing different schematics to see the light condition from the south so that it doesn't hit our own project. That's the building in interior, existing, new concrete, bearing walls all the way up. So this is 77 and this is 69. This is the one I presented, and this is the one we're working on. And this is the way it looks now with the structure on top. And this is the way it's going to look in a few months. And this is a picture that I really like, because I think this picture is like Mexico City. It just happens. It's just under construction over and over. Everybody's on top of each other. There's new, there's old. There's a chaos, but a chaos that is controlled and it works. Thank you.